you considering starting a property management business? Are you considering managing properties and looking after landlords' portfolio of properties? Well, then this definitely is for you. What property management services should you provide? There are so many services, a lot are very generic, and there are also some very quirky and new services that you can provide. So let me tell you more. Hopefully you'll learn a little bit of something today. The type of property management services that can be provided is evaluation of a property, market a property, tenant screening, so just obviously if a tenant is going to be suitable for a property, rent collection for the landlord, inspections of the property, and property maintenance. So the first one we're going to deal with is evaluating a property. Now, as a letting agent, or a property manager, or a real estate agent, all of those combined into one, they obviously can have their own separate individual roles. But what normally happens at an evaluating a property is you'll go and see the landlord, you'll look at the property, you'll assess the condition of the property, and you'll work out the market value of that specific property. So if it's a HMO property, you'll be looking at all the individual rooms, which is house of multiple occupation. You'll be looking at all the individual rooms, the communal area, the garden, and the front garden, and obviously all of the bin situation, if there's enough bins for the tenants there. And if it is a single let property, you'll again be assessing all of the rooms, the condition of the property, the garden and the front, what amenities are available, and how old are the appliances, on all those kinds of things. And then at the very end of the meeting with the landlord, you'll be assessing as to how much you think the property could be rented for. So that is number one. Number two is marketing a property. So once you've won the instruction, for the property, so the landlord says, yes, I want you to market my property. You're the best person I've seen. I want you to take over the marketing of my property and find me the best tenant in the whole world for my property. So you'll take pictures, you will get details and dimensions of the property to work out a floor plan, and then you'll decide which platform to put it on. So is it Rightmove? Is it Spare Room? Is it Zoopla? Obviously, depending if it's a single let or a residential single let or a commercial or a block or what have you. You will then put the property on the best platform and present it in the best way with a nice description, nice pictures, nice floor plan, and even you have open rent as well. So you put it on there, you advertise the property, and you see who then decides to come on board. That is number two. Third service is tenant screening. This is the most important service that you can provide as a property manager. You have to decide what kind of tenant is suitable for the property, and it's not necessarily a very pleasant role, to be honest, because you don't want to discriminate, you're not allowed to discriminate, it's against the law to discriminate. So you have to make sure that you very careful in your wording. You don't want to hurt people's feelings, but then again, you don't want to get a tenant that is really difficult to manage, does not pay their rent, absolutely destroys the property they're in, and you could be in more trouble than you're worth at the very end of the tenancy. So make sure you find the right tenant. In order to do that, you need to do, if you don't do your own references, then definitely enlist a referencing company to help you. You need to make sure you go through, their pay, their employers, make sure they're actually employed, because some tenants will say, yes, I'm employed. Here, call up, Barnaby from wherever, and he's my manager, and he can verify that I work there. And all this time, Barnaby is his next door neighbor, and he does not work there. So make sure you get the latest 3 months pay slips. If possible, speak to his employer, speak to his previous landlord. If he's been a really terrible tenant, the landlord will be like, yeah, he's the best thing since sliced bread, take him off my hands. So you need to be a bit cautious when you're speaking with a landlord and what the landlord says in their reference as well. So then obviously you need to do a credit check to make sure they've not got any CCJs. If they do, that's not necessarily the end of the world. They may be paying their CCJ. So if they are, that is absolutely wonderful. If they didn't declare their CCJ, then what else could they possibly be hiding? They may not even know, because I have done a reference before and a tenant didn't even know they had a CCJ, apparently. So anyway, make sure you do your reference checks. Just ask as many questions as possible. Try and ascertain as the kind of person that you're going to be dealing with, because you as a property manager are going to be dealing with this tenant all the time. So you need to make sure that you get along well with them, that they're a good fit for the property. If it's a single let, or a commercial unit, or even a HMO, make sure they're the perfect fit for the, get on very well with the other tenants in the property. So that is number 3. Number 4 is tenant move-in and rent collections. So before the tenant moves in, you obviously give them specific contracts. You take the first month's rent and deposit, and you save them in the appropriate locations. And this is where you ask your landlord, do they want you to collect the rent for them on a monthly basis? Because after this process, obviously, once the tenant, you check the tenant in, you do an inventory, you do a schedule of conditions, so the tenant knows what the property looks like before they move in, and what the property should look like when they move out. So so obviously in a service, the landlord may not necessarily want you to collect the rent on a continuous monthly basis, but for you as the business owner, there's nothing better than obviously getting reoccurring money every month. So you want to be able to make sure as a property manager that you get as much properties under your belt as possible. So you want to be able to collect the rent. You want to be able to obviously have the property to manage on a monthly basis until the end of the tenancy, until the tenant leaves the property. So you need to speak with the landlord to ask if they want you to collect rent as well. So that is number 4. Number 5 is property inspections. Now, obviously, once a tenant's moved in, they're comfortable, everything is wonderful, they've been in a property for like 6 months or 3 months or even a year, depending on what you want to do as an agency, you could charge specifically for doing property inspections, or you could include this in your management fee. Now, obviously, you don't want to go on a regular basis, because there's a law where the tenant has to have peace and be able to enjoy the property and not be constantly disturbed. As long as there's nothing wrong. But obviously it helps a tenant as well, and you as a managing agent, to work out if there's going to be any issues at the end of their tenancy. So you can go in, I'd advise like 6 months. You go to the property, you literally do another inspection. You look at the property from top to bottom, from inside and outside. It needs to basically look like how you gave them the property, but obviously taking into account some wear and tear, and then obviously relaying that back to the landlord, letting them know there's certain things that need to be looked at, certain things that need to be changed, certain things which could affect their deposit at the end. I mean, that's worth letting the tenant know that these things need addressing, and there's a possibility they may not get their deposit back if these things aren't addressed. Or, thank you so much, your property is perfect, it's exactly like how I gave it to you when you initially moved in. But yes, property inspections is definitely one thing to do on a 6 monthly, quarterly or annual basis. That is a service that you can provide. Moving on to the next one. The last generic service would be property maintenance. Now, property maintenance is, something that every landlord and property manager, real estate agent, letting consultant, everybody has to deal with once a tenant moves into a property. Now, sometimes it could be a lot of work on a sometimes daily basis, monthly basis, or if it could be very small, minor little things. Now, if it's a single let or a commercial let, sometimes you don't necessarily have too many difficulties, or not difficulties, but things in the property that you have to maintain. You may have larger things like the roof may need doing, or the boiler's broken, or the washing machine needs some attention. But so you get little small things. With a HMO, sometimes you get so much more detail, because not detail, but so much more maintenance issues, because there's so many people living in a smaller space, and the property is used a lot harder than it would if it was maybe a small family, mother, father, and 2 children or 1 child or what have you. But obviously, if you have a house of multiple occupation where there's 6 people, the washing machine will get used a lot more, the fridge and freezer will get used a lot more, the cooker will get used a lot more, so the white goods and things in the kitchen will get used a lot more than a residential property. So when you have when you have to deal with maintenance, you just need to have a really wonderful maintenance team to be able to back you up and support you in your business, because there's nothing worse than having all these maintenance issues and having no tradesmen that are able to help you. There are loads of tradesman platforms out there where you can choose a really good tradesman to be able to help you and support you in your business, and then you can in fact add maybe a 10% or 20%, whatever is suitable for your business, on top of that when you're charging the landlord back. So that's another way for you to be able to make money and offer a service to your clients. There are a few more quirky ideas which I'd like to show you as well. The first one is to offer serviced accommodation. Now, serviced accommodation has become really large because of, the Airbnb and bookings.com. A lot of landlords are not necessarily renting out their property on a long-term basis, or even when they have a big gap, not able to find a tenant because of it's the wrong season, or it's a student accommodation, so they're not necessarily able to find a suitable tenant, so they may turn their house or their flat, what have you, their property, into a serviced accommodation. So they're able to get people to stay on a very short-term basis, sometimes a day, sometimes a week, as opposed to them going to a hotel. So the landlord is able to provide material for the beds, like bedding and cutlery and things like that, things that probably would have been in the house anyway, if it was going to be rented out to a single person, a single let, should I say. But turning the property into a serviced accommodation, for you as a property manager, may be able to charge a bit more because the service is a bit more intensive, a bit more time consuming on your part. So that is one option. You could also be a key holder. So if you don't necessarily have many properties under management, you could be the person who holds keys on behalf of the landlord, so that maybe if they're not in the country, or they're quite far away from their property, and tenants need a copy of their key, they've been locked out, or whatever manner of things may be happening, you could offer a key service where you hold on to the landlord's keys for them on a monthly basis, weekly basis, what have you, where the landlord will pay you a specific fee for holding their keys. So that could be another option. Another option I have is doing viewings. So there is a company called Viewer who that's all they do. They just do viewings on behalf of whoever needs that specific service. But you as a property manager, if you're light of time and properties, you can offer that service as well. So to offer that service to other landlords, they may have properties that may need maybe they've got a fridge arriving, or they probably have tenants that they're managing themselves. There's a platform called Open Rent where a lot of landlords and small property management companies use it to to advertise their properties, and obviously get tenants on. So you as a property manager could actually assist these landlords that are actually on that platform. The idea is to have them on your platform and for you to manage it yourself, but there's no harm in offering viewings as part of your service package. So that is another option. So those are all the ideas I have for you to provide services as a property manager. Now, in case you didn't know, I am Tanya. I'm a virtual assistant and online business manager. I've been working in the industry as a virtual assistant since 2012, and I work with lots of different clients that have businesses within the property sector. So if you need any assistance in the property sector, whether you're a property manager, an estate agent, a surveyor, a mortgage broker, I would love to be able to help you and support you in your business. So please send me an email. My name is Tanya Day. My email address is tanya@clearviewadministration.co.uk. I will put all the details in the description, and I look forward to speaking with you all again soon in my next video. Take care. Bye.